Yeah, so next up we're going to have a kind of reflective yarning session at the end, just to bring up some speakers who have already gone before. So I'll invite John Weissman up to have a kind of introduce the session and yeah, lead us through it.
Thank you. Thanks, Jar. So what we're going to do just for about 15 minutes is we're going to, in the beginning on the first morning, we got all the presenters to join a little yarning circle and talk about why they were here and what had brought them here. And we thought it would be nice at about this time of the week to ask them all to come back again and say, what had they learned? What had been important from what they'd heard and talked about so far? So there's a couple, this is where you get to, everyone gets to move around a bit. So we'd like all the presenters, anyone who's here, to come down this corner so that you can be near the camera. Ben and anybody who would like to come down this corner, please. And then we'd also like everybody else to move over to this side. So this is where you get to, you know, get up and walk around and wake up and that kind of thing. So if you can just move over to this side, and all we'll do in a second when everyone's organized, only, yes, it's only if you'd like to, of course, is, yeah. Anne-Marie, can you recruit anyone else up the back who'd like to come down and join us? Yes, just to sit up in here. Exactly, that's right. So there's only, it'll probably be a smallish conversation. We'll start with the people who've been presenting, and then we're going to open it up to everybody. So
I've got one too, don't worry.
Marg, do you want to join us? Yeah, great.
Yep.
And I think we'll just kick off so that we can get things going. David, I'm going to ask you a simple question, which is, over the last 4 days, what have you learned? What's been interesting and surprising, and what will you take away?
Look, there's been wonderful yarns and stories and discussion, and I think it's for me, the most positive thing is if you like, the learnings that we have all got from sharing together the stories and the yarns. In practice, what has helped me most is the discussions from lots of different parts of Central Australia, which I'm much less familiar with than what I've encountered on, how would I say, sea country on the south and east of Australia, but haven't learned as much before about what's going on in Central Australia. So that's what I've really learned, is from the stories in Central Australia, and that's been fantastic.
Do you want to pass your mic to perhaps Anna next? How about Anna? Can I dob you in?
I guess it's incredibly powerful to see the power of connection to place, and how much of that is facilitated by Australia's First Peoples, and how strong those connections are, and the fact that there's already been lots of connections made today is, I think, very powerful. And also the recognition by Balanda or ourselves as non-Indigenous people of that powerful connection and the incredible opportunity to learn from First Nations people, I think.
Maybe Shara, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think so. Two things that I think, one of the things that always surprises me, not surprises me, but it's not, that you consider, is just how much work young Indigenous people are doing, or all Indigenous people are doing, how many hats people have to wear because of how much work there is to do. So I think, again, those connections are really, really important to build in environments like this so that we can always get support and build those networks out. Second, I think the creative strength of those knowledge holders and all the amazing art and music and videos and other things that we've seen is always really exciting to see and express that information in ways that is really always really exciting. So yeah, I mean, apart from all the the information, which has been top class. So yeah, but that, I think those two things are just kind of exciting takeaways for me.
Okay, Margaret.
I guess the personal takeaway for me is what I always experience when I have time to stop and be with First Nations people, hearing their stories about the amazing things they're doing, and that is just the incredible patience and strength that they have, and that importantly they share with us. So it's been a really invigorating week for me in that way. And I think the yarning tackle has been amazing, and Jara's absolutely right. The combination of song and poetry and visuals and as well as some more scientific and other storytelling elements has been amazing. And I wish there were a few more people here. So I guess what I would like to do is think about the way we can get more people here next time, because I think there's just, particularly maybe some younger people, as in school kids and others, if that's of course what the Desert Song Festival is interested in doing, because I just think the conversation has been incredibly important, and be great to have more people engaged in it.
Thank you. Simon, maybe?
It's the people. And I live in Melbourne on Bunurong country. I spent 260 days in lockdown. I've basically been working from home for 2 years. You come here and you remember there are good people everywhere you go. The people at speaking and the topics covered and the beautiful Indigenous people sharing and the beautiful sharings and the interactions with you guys, the fact that you're even here, like Mark was just saying, wish there were more here, but not just here, back at the hotel, the people I've been talking to, going out and seeing the music, it's been absolutely amazing. I love every minute of it. Thank you.
Ben, you're next to that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, I think we really appreciate you being here. And I think it's been a privilege for all of us to, some of the climate scientists that have been here are the leaders in the country and in some ways the leaders in the world. So it's quite a privilege. But my journey this week has, I've really kind of struggled a bit with really absorbing where we are in the climate crisis. And I've been around this for almost 3 decades. It's like I know it. But really taking on board how we are tracking on worst case scenarios, is something that you can often keep at bay, but when you hear it again and again, day after day, you can't. We've brought, I think it's been wonderful to bring climate science together with First Nations leaders. And I thought it's been very interesting to hear the way that, while in the same way that climate scientists have had to be very patient, in terms of putting out their message and, waiting, hoping that our political leaders will respond, that First Nations leaders have been doing the same thing. And the elders want urgency on their issue in the same way that climate scientists are asking for urgency on responding to climate change. But I've been very heartened to meet some of the, especially I think the young First Nations leaders, and especially the young women over in the corner over there who represent the youth movement for the Voice to Parliament, who I think some of you may not have been here Monday morning when they spoke. But when in meeting them, I feel that even as life may get more and more difficult, that those who will be helping manage the situation, we're in very good hands if the levers of power are put in their hands.
And down, Barbara. Yeah. Rebecca, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank you so much. I agree with all of that. And I wanted to pick up on something that Margaret said and amplify that a little bit more. It's just been so refreshing to be in a room where the value and the privacy of traditional owner knowledge is accepted without question and brought to the fore and discussed with depth and meaning and content, and not, argued whether or not it's valid because it's been validated by white fellas. To which I would say something very rude, except this is probably being recorded. So how do we do this? How do we not just bring people here, but how do we do this at ESA? How do we do this at other forums around Australia? I know if we had poetry and music and depth of understanding and the spirit of generosity that is in this room, if we brought that to ESA, I know which would be the most popular sessions. Like, we'd be overrun with people, and we've got to turn the tide around how science is perceived in this country. And I think this has been an exceptional opportunity in Australia to really bring this thinking to the fore. So thank you to all of the organisers, to everyone who supported it, to you who've come, to all the speakers, and of course, always, as always, our traditional owners who come with that sense of patience and generosity every single time.
So what I'd like, no, I think everyone's, and what I would like to do is to ask anyone here, and I'm very happy to invite a couple of people, but I'm going to also keep it a little short because we've got kind of a really piece of good news that the Arafura Music Collective are also here and would like to play for us. So we want to make sure they've got some time, but is there one or two people who'd like to add anything to what's just been said? Anyone in the group down here? I think, yes.
Yeah, I think it's been fantastic. I had no idea though. I mean, I'd registered for the Desert Song Festival and was excited about, came all the way from Melbourne to sing. I had no idea this was part of it. So, and I'm sure if other people had known, more people would have come along to this. So I'm not sure sort of where the gap in communication happened, but it's just been an extra delight. We're lucky enough to be camped just over the road. So it was very accessible. And yeah, the sessions have been fantastic. And like you've all said, just such a good mix. I've been to academic conferences, but this was, yeah, it was just a fantastic mix, and thank you all. I had no idea we were going to have such a feast of knowledgeable and wise and wonderful people.
And there's one more, I think. Did you want to say something? Yeah.
Very quick comment. Oh, is this on?
Karaoke.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
No, we can hear you.
I've loved all the scientific information, and as someone who's from Victoria and been in lockdown for 2 years, it's just been great. And all the speakers' information was great, and the blend of poetry and song it's just beautiful, having the creativity as well as the mind stuff. I don't know if we've got time, but I'd really like to hear from the people here. We're all really aware we've lost 10 years in Australia because of lack of leadership from our governments. And some of the best stuff that's come on, there's all the scientific work that's been done, and that's wonderful. The hands-on stuff, you're actually changing things. A lot seems to be come from the Indigenous people and the grassroots. I'd be really interested in the comment from people here now that we have a different government, and hopefully we'll have a bit more change. You know, how do you see the way forward when we really are in a crisis and we have lost that 10 years? What are the constructive ways you see on every level on how we can change things around?
So I think the best way to answer that is to say, please come back tomorrow if possible, because that's exactly what, that's the solutions day tomorrow. Well, not the solutions, the next steps. Yeah. Futures. Yeah. So we'd love to also have that discussion informally. But I'm going to hand back to Jara now to take us to the next part of the musical presentations as well.
Sorry, Suzanne's still here. Jara, could I just,
Oh,
you're
sorry.
right. No, that's okay. I just wanted to respond to that. And I think I was at the National Land Care Conference last week, and it was quite overwhelming as a First Nations person to be there, to be front and centre and to be followed and to want this leadership from us. And we were really overwhelmed. And so we said, I was on the panel with Ricky Archer and with Victor, and I said to them, I said, you know, can you really believe that we've arrived at the moment where we are being heard as Indigenous people? We're here and we're being respected for it. I said, it's here. The moment has arrived, but we need to now figure out how we continually walk together. And the biggest part that I see in that space is the trust value. Trust us as First Peoples, as the ancient knowledge holders, that we will lead us through. The 10 years is irrelevant to us. It's making that opportunity in that moment. And that's the teachings that have been instilled in us, you know, for the generations, is that we always have our eyes on the children's fire. Let's always think about the future. And that's our legacy that we leave. So, yeah, that's what I think. Thank you.